My company, Urban Growth, exists for about 2 years. We exist to deliver horticulture training and give access to nature in the city. It's not unique. We're one of many organizations who do this sort of thing. I came today from something that actually was a bit of a success, where we did a harvest lunch. Any of you who are in London may know about Capital Growth and their Urban Food Fortnight, which is running at the moment. So we look after the growing space at something called Pot Brixton, which is a series. It's a co-working space. It's a centre for local enterprise. There's a lot of food and drink, and it has a whole range of outputs that it does. But it's also got gardens integrated into the whole site, including a huge polytunnel where people sit and eat. And today we went around and harvested huge amounts of crops from the local area, from the local site, and then they were prepared within an hour by one of the caterers on site, and we ate it. And I sort of, unfortunately, had to run away to come here because it was so delicious, and gave a lot of inspiration for what we can do in future. In looking at some of the documents that, and some of the things that were being said in advance of this, I was trying to think about the important questions. And one of the biggest problems that I've seen for people trying to grow food in the city in a sustainable economic way is about the market and who's going to buy it. Because chefs and business owners are used to a procurement and supply chain which I would have said, until that video that was shown earlier from that chap in Washington, I would have said they benefit from economies of scale and that we can't possibly compete at a local level. And he gave that idea of the sort of boundary of efficiency. So I thought there is hope perhaps, but that the cost of local food also excludes a lot of the people who could most benefit from it. Certainly in my experience of the few farms that are dotted around London, they're often growing organic or nearly organic, and the produce that they make is not that cheap. Although again, the example of Loughborough Farm just showed that doesn't necessarily need to be the case. I'm trying to develop an integrated solution. What the Loughborough development shows is a series of stakeholders coming together: policymakers, the council, healthcare, employment, education, and also about space management, landscape management, urban planning, and all those things. And it seems like they've got a really great solution in a borough that is currently plagued by unbelievable budget cuts and a huge number of challenges facing it. And the importance of policy, where currently it feels, when I try and approach people, that we're invisible when we do this sort of thing. And it feels as though developing these new models with bureaucratic structures is fantastically slow. And when you go to the council or when you go to big business, it takes months or years for things to happen. The question, again, from the chap in Washington, D.C., I thought was absolutely key about how to get capital into local food businesses. And I've been trying to target corporate money, because there are a lot of people out there, for all the ills of the world with Bayer and Monsanto and whatever else you have, there are a lot of people running big businesses who want to support initiatives like the ones that we're talking about today. I'm part of the School for Social Entrepreneurs Scale-Up program, which is funded by Lloyds, and they put money and thousands of pounds of donations in kind into incredible innovative projects, things going on in Scotland around the Remakery in Edinburgh and things like that. So I think there is a lot of hope there, hopefully, perhaps, through engaging with corporate power as much as feeling as though we need to challenge it. Something else I'm involved with is something called the Lambeth GP Food Cooperative, which is growing food in GP surgeries as a form of healthcare. Again, it's not the only organisation that does this, and organisations like Loughborough Farm, which get GPs to actually pay them for delivering services, that's key. But I know of organisations such as ourselves who've struggled for months or years to get a clinical commissioning group to pay them. And it seems very much like hit and miss. It's about who you know. And a quiet conversation with one person can yield a huge contract that changes things a lot. But we've managed to get a lot of support from Compass Medirest, who are the caterers at King's College Hospital. They're the biggest suppliers of food into the healthcare system in Britain, I believe. And they are the sort of organisation that will take whatever we can provide. So if we are a food-growing organisation like Loughborough Farm, or if we were at Surrey Docks Farm or some of the others organically and so forth, one of the challenges is around meeting the needs of small cafes and producers who have the sort of clientele that want to buy organic, locally grown produce. But if instead you get someone like Compass Medirest who just says, we will buy from you at market rates, whatever you can grow, that then makes for a much more sustainable business. And so again, I do find when you approach these organizations, sometimes there are these people who really want to do that and who have their hands on the levers of power and can make these changes happen. Just looking very briefly at one of the sentences I saw in some of the preparatory literature, that the target audience for this event was people primarily on the left who are already convinced of the need for a fundamental change. I was listening to some of the politics stuff, and I just wanted to ask a couple of questions, because obviously the political situation right now is extremely complicated, and I really only have questions. But is it only people on the left who believe in the need for fundamental change? And why not target people on the right who want fundamental change? Because I don't even know what that means anymore, to be on the left or the right. If being on the right is about having a small state, isn't that actually something to do with localism as well? So I just thought, some of those things, you know, the old-fashioned idea of the benevolent big state, is that, I'm not convinced. I'm sorry that I wasn't here for the morning to engage with those conversations more. So I just thought that in the context of UK politics, whether someone's a member of UKIP or the Conservative Party or any other party, this local agenda, I think, unites a lot of values around social justice that people are trying to develop. So I hope that can happen too.